And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Ryan Metzler.
Hey everybody, it's Ryan Metzler here again, and today we're looking at not so much of a game as a game system. Today we're going to be looking at the Decktet. You can see I have a book here, and I have a deck of cards. Now, you're going to say a deck of cards, what's the difference about this deck of cards and a regular deck of cards? Well, this deck of cards is designed in such a way that you can basically use it in order to make your own games. The whole concept of the deck seems to be built around making your own games, and it's built in a way that the games won't really always share that much of a similarity with your typical 52 card deck. So these cards are a little bit different. They have 6 suits rather than the usual 4, and they have a story behind them, so they can be used to design games, they can be used to tell a story, and all of that is laid out in this nice little book. Now, the book also tells you what types of games have already been designed, it tells you the background to the deck, and it tells you how to use it to do much like a tarot deck, tell a story. So why don't we take a look at this deck, see why it's different from a normal deck of cards, and maybe discuss what its uses are and how you can get your own copy. So this is the Decktet book, and as you can see, it pictures the cards on the front, and inside the book we have several different things. So the first thing you're going to have, obviously, you can see this is quite a thick book, so there's a lot of information here. But the first thing that the deck does is it tells you a little bit about the design. And it's going to tell you why the deck was built the way it is, what the inspiration for the deck was, the layout of the suits, the odds of getting specific cards, and so forth and so on. And there's actually a lot of interesting here, prehistory, history, all types of information that is told in a nice story format as well as in a real-world format. And it gives you a lot of insight as to what the designer of the deck was thinking when he built it. After the portion about the history and the design of the deck is an entire section dedicated to games and the rules of the games that you can play using the Decktet. Now, you're not limited to these games, and there's actually a wiki online with more games that you can play using the Decktet, and I'm sure there are even more in development, and you could make your own. But inside of this book, there's at least 18 games you can play using the Decktet, one of which has 3 or 4 variants. So you can go through here, and there's a bunch of different games possible to play. The rules are outlined very well, and there are actually some very interesting games in here, some of which you may see me review at a future date. After that, there's actually a section devoted to storytelling, using the deck much like a tarot deck. I haven't gone through this, and as I'm not much of a storyteller, probably won't, but at some point it may be interesting to read to determine what and how this deck may be used to do. At the end of the book, there's acknowledgments and some charts which may be useful in different games that you can play with the Decktet. All of this is available on the Decktet webpage, which is at www.decktet.com. So this is the entirety of a basic deck for the Decktet. And what you can see here is you can see that there are several different ranks of cards, much like a regular deck, except for in this one the suits are going to be different. So you can see here we have 6 aces, and then 3 each of 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, all the way up through 9. Aces only have a single suit on them, whereas all of the other ranked cards from 2 through 9 have 2 suits. The frequency of combinations of suits is not the same throughout the game, so there may not be the same frequency of a moon and sun combination as there is as a moon and leaf combination. Additionally, you can see that there is a definite rank to all of the 6 suits in the game, with moons being the highest rank and knots being the lowest rank, with suns, waves, leaves, and worms in between. Finally in the deck, there are an additional 6 cards which are called crowns. Crowns have only 1 suit each, and are often used to serve a specific function within the game. Some combinations of suits will never appear in the deck, while others will appear with great frequency. Suns and moons, for example, appear quite frequently together, while suns and leaves will never appear on the same cards in the normal ranks. So here we have an example of 3 different types of cards, just to give a little bit of a better perspective on what the cards look like. So here we have an ace, and as you can see, there's no numbers on the ace, but they are generally the lower cards in the game. And this is the Ace of Worms. You can see there's symbols in the corner depicting worms, and that there's a large central icon depicting a worm. The rank cards of 2 through 9 all have some type of central artwork, as well as the number in the corner. You can see that this is the 7 of suns, and knots. And something important to notice if you haven't read the Decktet book is that there's a lot of thought that went into the artwork of this game, or of this deck, sorry, of this game system. All of the artwork depicts the suits within it. So you can see on the castle here, which all of the cards are also named, the castle here depicts a sun, and to represent the knot has both a flag with a knot on it and towers, which are representative of the knots. The Huntress here is one of the crown cards, the actual crown card for moons. And as you can see here, in the center you can see the lunar phases depicted on the card. Other cards for water will show either a wave or some type of standing water. For trees, show either vines or trees, sorry, for leaves, show either trees or vines. And for worms, you'll see lizards or worms. And for the sun and moon, you'll obviously see the sun and moon. That's the general layout of cards, and this is going to be consistent throughout the entire deck. Also included when you purchase the Decktet are 3 different types of cards for an extended deck. And you can see here we have the pawns, which there's 4 of, the courts, which there's 4 of, and then the excuse. Now, the pawns, as you can see, are cards which have, instead of 2 usual suits, have 3 suits this time. And they contain both the suits that are most common and the suit combinations that never occur in the base deck. So for example, in the base deck, suns and moons is one of the most common combinations, which you can see here on the harvest. But suns and leaves never occur together in the base deck. The courts, again, are cards which have 3 suits, and this time they also contain the suit combinations that don't exist in the base game. So again, you can see we have the suns and leaves combination. However, the courts will never have the most common combinations from the base deck. The excuse is the final card, and this excuse here is essentially a wild card. It's often used in games as either a wild or as a card that's supposed to be the opposite of every other card in the deck. With these 3 different types of cards, you have a wide extension of the range of possibilities for game design, where you can have 3 different suits on a card, giving a lot of possibilities for both trick-taking games, resource management games, and all types of other games, instead of being limited to 1 type of suit for each card. The last thing I want to note about the Decktet is that there are 3 different types of cards in the deck, irrespective of rank or pawn, crown, whatever. And that's events, locations, and personalities. Now, these may not be important for every Decktet game. As a matter of fact, the few that I've played, they're not related. But these are different card types that can be used in game design and may play a role in increased complexity of games or in increased rules or just as a central focus to the game. Now these are indicated by small little dots in the corners of the card. So you can see here this solid dot indicates that this here is a event, whereas this one with a line in it indicates a location, and the lack of the dots on the personality indicates that it is indeed a personality. With these 3 different types of cards, you have an even deeper level of design that allows you to go further and to incorporate different concepts into your game builds. So that's the overall concept of the Decktet. It's a 6-suited deck with combinations of suits rather than individual suits for each card. Now, the nice thing about this is not only that it's a great game design tool and it's a very interesting concept, but the games that I've played with it are very nice so far. They're actually very well thought out, and it's done under Creative Commons, so the deck actually can be available for free, which is nice. The book is not free. You do have to buy that, but the deck is released under a Creative Commons license, so you can get your own copy for free and print it out if you'd like. Now, these are also available for relatively cheap online. I believe you can get them through ArtsCow or through the Game Crafter, and it's going to run you under $10 easily for a deck of these cards. The level of thought that's gone into the deck, the history that's been written up for it, the interesting design concepts that are put in the book, and the availability to use it for your own designs while not being limited to a strict 4-suit design from a common card deck is really interesting to me. And I think that this is a great tool for maybe game designers out there who don't have a base where they want to start or want to do something interesting with cards but haven't really thought it out yet. So if you're interested in designing a game, or if you're interested in learning some interesting card games, you should take a look at the Decktet. There's really a lot going on here. It's not simply a deck of cards. It's a tool that you can use to have a great time designing and a great time playing.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.